The patient on the table isn't breathing right. You can hear it. That wet, shallow pull of air that means something inside is wrong and getting worse. The room smells like bleach and cigarette smoke and something older underneath both. A single surgical lamp hangs above the table. One of the bulbs is dead. You operate in half shadow because that's what you have. You don't ask who he is. You stopped asking 3 years ago. Your hands are steady. That's the thing people don't understand. Your hands are always steady. It's everything else that shakes. The man who brought him in is standing by the door with his arms crossed. He has a name, but you don't use it. You call him what everyone calls him. You call him nothing, because nothing is safer. He told you the patient took 2 rounds to the left side. He told you to fix it. He didn't say please. Nobody here says please. You look at the entry wounds. One is clean, one isn't. This is going to take 2 hours you don't have, using supplies you're almost out of, in a room that hasn't been properly sterilized since Tuesday. You've done harder. You've done worse. You put on your gloves and you begin. This is your life now. This is what you chose. Or what chose you, depending on which version of the story you tell yourself at 4 a.m., when the anesthesia wears off and you're the only one still awake. You didn't start here. You started with 12 years of school, anatomy at 6 a.m., cadaver labs that smelled like formaldehyde and made you stop eating meat for a month, residency in a county hospital where you worked 36-hour shifts and slept in supply closets and still believed, genuinely believed, that you were building toward something. You had a license. You had debt the size of a small country. You had a future. Then you had a bad year. One malpractice suit. Disputed. Settled. Your name attached to a number and a silence that follows you into every interview room after that. Your license gets flagged. Your hospital privileges get reviewed. The system that trained you for 12 years decides you're a liability. And liabilities get managed. And managed means minimized. And minimized means gone. You had rent. You had debt. You had hands that still knew how to save people. Someone knew someone. That's always how it starts. Someone knew someone who needed a doctor who didn't ask questions, and you told yourself it was temporary. And here you are, 3 years into temporary, with a man bleeding onto a table that used to be a dining room door laid across 2 sawhorses. You find the second bullet. It's close to the renal artery. Too close. You breathe out through your nose. You adjust the lamp. You work. The man by the door shifts his weight. He wants this done fast. They always want it done fast. Fast and clean and quiet, as if speed and precision are the same thing, as if rushing a surgery near a major artery is just an inconvenience. You've tried explaining this. Once. The conversation ended in a way that made explaining things permanently less appealing. So you work in silence. You've built a system. That's the only way to survive this. You treat it like a system. You sterilize what you can. You keep your supplies cataloged. You charge enough to stay ahead of desperation, not enough to become a target. You never keep patient records. You never use your real name. You rotate locations every few weeks, following a circuit of apartments and back rooms, and one truly terrible basement in a part of the city where nobody calls the police because nobody wants the police to come. Your patients are criminals, mostly. Gang members. People who move things they shouldn't. People who owe debts to people like the man by the door. Occasionally someone civilian. A woman who needs something removed that she can't afford and can't explain to an official hospital. A kid who got caught in something he didn't understand. Those ones are harder. Those ones stay with you. The artery holds. You exhale. You didn't realize you'd been holding your breath. You work quickly now, closing the layers, gut suture on the deep tissue, interrupted stitches on the skin because this man is going to move before he should, and the stitches need to hold. You've learned to account for the fact that your patients don't rest. They can't. Rest is a luxury that requires safety, and none of these people are safe. Neither are you. That's the part you didn't negotiate when you took this life. You understood the illegality. You understood the moral erosion, the slow way that doing something wrong enough times stops feeling wrong, or stops feeling like anything at all. You understood the money, which is real and significant, and funds the existence you live in the legal part of your life, the apartment, the groceries, the almost normal surface of things. You didn't fully understand the exposure. You know things now. You know things because you've been inside these men. Literally, surgically, intimately. You know which one has a pacemaker he hasn't told his crew about, which means his heart can be traced. You know which one is missing a kidney, which means someone took it, which means there's a story there that could destroy someone very powerful. You know who has a scar they didn't get from combat. You know who is sick in ways they're hiding. Information is currency in this world, and you are full of it, which means you are valuable, which means you are also dangerous, which means the people who use you have reasons to keep you functional and reasons to keep you quiet that are not always compatible with each other. The man on the table stirs, his eyes open, glassy, confused, fighting the lidocaine and the shock. You tell him to be still. You tell him he's okay. You say it in the calm, flat voice you developed somewhere in the second year of residency, the voice that doesn't waver, the voice that belongs to someone who knows what they're doing. He listens. They always listen. In a room like this, with hands like yours moving over their body, your voice is the only authority they respect. You finish closing, you clean up, you dispose of everything in the bags you brought specifically for this, incinerated later, elsewhere, nothing traceable. You do this with the practiced efficiency of someone who has thought through every failure point. You write nothing down. You remember everything. The man by the door hands you an envelope. You don't count it here. You'll count it in your car, parked 3 blocks away, engine running, because you always leave yourself an exit. You learned that in the first month, when a payment became a negotiation, and a negotiation became a threat, and you were in a room with no way out. You adapt. You survive. You update your protocols, and you keep moving. Outside, it's almost morning. The sky is doing that thing where it turns deep blue just before the light breaks. You sit in your car, and you count the money, and the number is correct, and you feel, briefly, the small animal satisfaction of a transaction completed. Then you feel everything else. You don't call it guilt anymore, because guilt implies you think you could stop. You don't call it regret, because regret implies a choice you could go back and unmake. You call it weight. It's a specific weight, distributed across your shoulders and behind your eyes, and it's been there so long you've learned to move under it the way you'd learn to move at altitude. Slower, more deliberate, more aware of what it costs to breathe. You have a number, an amount. When you reach it, you leave. Different country, different name, enough money to disappear and start again in some version of legitimacy that's possible from where you'll be standing. You've been calculating this number for 2 years. You're close. You've been close before. You pull out of the parking space and drive toward the part of the city where normal people are waking up, making coffee, moving through lives that don't require this kind of arithmetic. You pass a hospital, a real one, lit up, ambulances at the entrance, people in scrubs moving with the particular urgency of legitimate emergency. You don't slow down. You keep your hands steady on the wheel. That's the one thing that hasn't changed. Everything else, the license, the name, the future you built in 12 years of school, all of it has shifted into something unrecognizable. But your hands are still steady, and somewhere across the city, a man is breathing who wasn't breathing right an hour ago. You hold on to that. You have to hold on to something.